Hey, what's up, everybody? So, when a client asks you to maybe type in some words or make a lower third, even if you don't have any fonts that you particularly love, you want to fake it and make them think that, yes, I know what kind of fonts are good and these are my favorite fonts. So, in that vein, I have given you a 6-pack of fonts you can download. You can put these onto your system if you care for them. Fonts are obviously very, very subjective, but I do think it's very important for you. You do want to have some fonts that are your go-to fonts, right? When you're working, you don't want to just be going through the 80,000 fonts on your system and have no idea at least where to start, right? So I'm going to go over some fonts right now. I'm not going to do this in Avid. I'm going to do this in After Effects. I'm lucky or fortunate enough to say I have never even opened Avid Titler Plus yet, since I've seen so much bad commentary or reviews on it. I really very rarely ever make a title in Avid. The only time I ever would is for a slate, and for other points maybe I would just use a marker if I needed to make a note to another editor or whatnot. For titles that I'm actually going to edit with, I'm going to always use After Effects. It's much easier to adjust titles, align titles, all those different things. Let's talk about the fonts themselves. I gave you 6, so I'm going to start with my favorite font for a while now. Has been this font called Oswald. I don't think I can verbalize what makes fonts good or not. I just like it's a strong font, easy to read. I'm not a graphic design major. I wish I took graphic design in college, but instead I majored in drinking beer. So this Oswald bold, semi-bold, this has been my favorite font. This is the font I've been using for a while now on my thumbnails. And I don't know, I just like this font very much. In a very similar vein, we use this font on the show I worked for a long time, and the same thing. It's called Gotham. And if you go to black regular, strong font, easy to read, a lot of different options with the thin, extra thin, right? All these different fonts under the term of Gotham. So that's number 2. Number 3 I gave you is something called Railway. There's times, especially for corporate type videos, where I really like a thin font. So that's 3. And before I go over the other 3, I'll just go over a quick rule when it comes to fonts. You do not want to mess with changing the font's percentages horizontally or vertically. The little I know about graphic design is these fonts are designed very, very specifically. The ratio between the vertical and the horizontal is really designed that way for very, very specific reasons. Now, if there is sometimes where you need to fill the frame, I think doing it vertically is a little better than horizontally, but I almost would never, ever, ever expand a font horizontally. And real people who would actually design fonts would be very upset that you did this to their font. Okay, so number 4 is these 4, 5, 6 are ones I would say more I go to for corporate type videos. One is the Nexa series, corporate type of things where you have a lot of words. Nexa reads really well, and I feel like it's like a nice, safe corporate thing. Same thing with the other last 2 I'm going to give you. One's called Fear Sans. It's an ultra light one, and something more specific, heavy. Okay, that's a little heavy right there, but I probably wouldn't use that for corporate. I'd probably go something thinner, but that actually reads really, really well. Really good font, Fear Sans. And then the 6th one is called Leto, and there's probably many more. These aren't like the best 6 ever, right? This is very, very specific. I picked this one, Leto, for this specific. That's why it was this one, Leto Hairline, right? Super, super thin, super kind of cool right there. So those are 6 fonts I gave you. How would you install them? I gave you, unfortunately for all Mac users, I'm sorry, but I only have the Windows version of these fonts. And what you would do is really just go to your control panel, search fonts if you don't see it right away, and you open the fonts folder and you literally just drag and drop this font right in there. It says it's already installed, but if it wasn't installed, it would just start installing it automatically. And then once you restarted any of your programs, you would see these fonts. So that is 6 fonts to think about. The other 2 things I'll just mention really quickly when it comes to graphic design stuff, which I know very, very little about. I do know enough to know that you don't always want to have all your text centered right in the middle of the screen. So think about this thumbnail right here has the text aligned to the left. Don't have everything aligned to the center. It's actually, I don't know what you call it, amateurish or not that cool. You think about even a lot of graphics you see in print advertising, things like that. You don't have every single word centered in the middle of the page. Now, if you have one sort of line, obviously, in television, sure, you're going to want to especially align that. You don't want that a little off left and right. If you're only having one line, you're probably going to want it centered. But I'm saying when you have multiple words, things like that, particularly corporate videos, you don't want everything just specifically centered in the middle, not necessarily a hugely professional way to design graphics. Now, the other thing to think about is mixing and matching a thin font with a bold font. Doesn't look that good there the way this is right now, but just keep that in mind. You don't have to have fonts be the exact same one. That's one of the reasons why fonts give you so many different looks in the same sort of family of fonts. Mix and match a little bit at certain times when you're trying to bold something more, make a word stand out, especially when using a lot of words in corporate. So at the risk of repeating myself again, I'm saying when a client says to you, oh, let's make a graphic, you want to say to yourself, oh, here's a couple of fonts I really like. Okay, and that's what I do right here with 6, and that's why I always start usually with Oswald and say, I really like this Oswald font, but hey, if you like a font, that's great, whatever, it doesn't matter. And if not, try a corporate, same thing, oh, I like this Lotto, regular, this, that. It just makes me sound smarter than I really am. So go ahead and download those 6 fonts, add them to your system, and I'm going to go to the store right now to go get a 6-pack of beer and download that right into my stomach. If you're a Premiere user looking to learn Avid in short 5-minute videos, go to avidbeer.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.